Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our Bold Existence interviews, where we are hearing testimonials of people who are all around the world who love and follow Jesus. And today I have the honor of having with me the beautiful Corrie, who is here to share with us a little bit about her and her story and how Jesus has really impacted her life in a real tangible way, and so I'm excited to hear more as we journey through this. And I'm just going to ask you just a couple questions, and we're gonna just see what God has for us today. So welcome, Corrie.
Thank you. Thanks, Candice.
So, can you maybe just tell me just like a quick summary that actually goes over what your life was like before you knew Jesus?
Truth be told, Candice, I do not have a before or an after. I grew up in a Christian home. My parents ensured that we went to Sunday school and to church, though they themselves didn't often go themselves because of circumstances. My father worked shifts, so very often he couldn't go to church. But and my mom couldn't drive a car, but there was a bus service that could actually pick us up at home and take us to church. So my whole life has been church has been part of my life. The Bible's been part of my life. We didn't have formal reading the Bible together at home either. We would have grace at the table. But my parents were exemplary parents, the way they did their lives. But my whole walk, my whole life with God has just been one of gradually flowing, having my aha moments, having periods of deep growth with God, having periods where I too was away from God, but then I come back to God again. So, but in my whole life, from where I come from to where I am now, God has been the author of my life. That's just putting it simple. There are chapters there. My life is broken up into many chapters. Chapters where there were profound sadness, amazing happiness, joys, everything. So it's just been a very gradual walking on the beach, sitting down with Jesus moments with him. There's no a before and after. I don't have that. No.
Yeah. I love that. I love how you say it's been a gradual journey of those sitting on the beach with Jesus moments, right? That just resonates in my heart, because I think there's so many opportunities that we miss when we're running past things, and when we actually sit and pause and spend time with Jesus, how he just wants to invest in us, how he wants to impart to us so many more treasures and gifts and blessings, and just so much more than I think if we don't take those pause moments. So that's beautiful, and I think that's amazing how you've seen the growth over the years. Like, when people say yes to following Jesus, it's not a walk in the park. It's not like life's going to be perfect, right? It's a process of sanctification where we're learning to become more like him. And so through those highs, through those lows that life throws us, he is our steady one. He is the constant companion that continues to champion us and strengthen us and pick us up. And so I love that's your journey, right, so far. But I'm just curious. So was there an encounter moment with Jesus that really made you go, you know what, I am all in? Like, I can't ever deny that Jesus has had such a profound impact on my life, that I want to be all in going forward, and celebrating him in everything I do. Was there a moment like that you can remember?
There is one that God actually brought to mind now. It's many years that I'm going backwards and forwards, but look, God's always been there. He's always been part of my life. And my relationship with God evolved as with time. And as a younger person starting out, I was brought up in a church that was very staunch. You weren't allowed to use communion unless you were sure your life was clean. It was that type of rigidness there. I mean, communion, I now know, is there because I am a sinner. I can use communion. But those days, if I wanted to use communion at another church, I had to get a letter from my pastor giving that pastor permission that I can be served communion at his church, even if it was in the same time. It was that type of background that I come out of.
Wow.
But God has been very gracious to me with that. It's changed radically. My husband's come out of the same background, so our stories are very similar. And God has really led us from an era from seeing God as this very authority person, not a relationship type of God.
Yeah.
You were scared to do anything wrong. But a defining moment there was a time in my life as a youngster. I would party, go to house parties. There was drinking and stuff. God's been gracious with me there. I drank some wines and stuff, but I never went overboard with it. And at this specific one time, I was already working at that stage. I was at this house party and it was dark, very loud music. And honestly, till today, even sharing this with you, I have no idea who that person was and if it actually was an angel or something. But I was sitting there in this loud music, disco-like things going on and off, and people dancing, a loudness. And this guy comes towards me and he kneels before me and he says to me, "You do not belong here, do you?" And if there was a defining moment, that was it. Then I stopped partying, but even during the years of partying as a teenager and a youngster, I think we all sort of kind of do that thing. God's protection was always there for me. I was never involved in something that I ever regret having done. I had to turn away from. But that was, after that, I never relapsed into anything, doing things that sort of go out of the norm of following Jesus, So that was a good one. But there are many things, it'll take lots of time. I mean, I've been on the road for many years too, so many high, but his protection, especially Candace, has always been very, very profound, because I grew up in two countries where civil war was rampant and even terrorist wars. And to have been in those situations, and I can really, with all honesty, say I just know God has been, and to hear stories of other people's lives, how God has impacted them during those years. It's sometimes stories of other people that also impact your life.
Absolutely.
So, but yes, that moment in that at that house party, when I have no idea who that was, and that made a bigger change.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, when you told me that, I literally got goosebumps. I think it's those encounters where we just realize, right? Like, we have been set apart for such a time as this. And
yes,
he highlights us, and he's going to continue to put people in our lives and in our path to keep us on the path that he has for us. And I would love to sit down with you and have a longer time to really unpack some of those moments. I think you have a really unique experience in that you moved from these two countries to a place like Australia to bring your family over here and to raise them up in their older years. And I think that there's a real courage in that, in following God to an unknown place where you've trusted him. You know what his faithfulness has been to that point. You've seen his grace weave through your life, and then to actually make a choice and say, we need to do something radical. Where are you calling us to, God? And to literally step out on the water and not know what you're walking into. And that's where you've been, and to see God continue to just move in such powerful ways in your life has been amazing, amazing, amazing. So thank you so much for sharing that.
And
Yeah.
when you're saying that, I can really, really confirm that, what you've just said. When we were thinking of coming to Australia, at the age that my husband and I were, it's a massive thing. It's a huge thing to leave your comfort zone and then to move into the unknown. And at that stage, I would say to God, yes, I want to go. No, I don't want to go. Yes, I want to go. No, I don't want to go.
Yeah.
It's leaving behind what's familiar and stepping into the unknown. And there was one Bible verse that my husband and I clung to during that time, was the one that Moses said to God, do not let us go from here unless you come with us.
Yeah.
And that was what we based our move on. I'm sorry, I have to look it up where it stands. I can't exactly remember. I think it was when God called him to take the Israelites out. And that was our prayer. Say, God, come with us. And only that. And that's how we made our move. And it's been an amazing adventure. Very blessed to live in Australia. But a lot of the spiritual growth and stuff that came with it was a lot of stuff that we learned here, but a lot of things that you do to courses that you take, sermons that it's a growth thing, sermons that you listen to and things like that. But yeah, what you said, that move, really, that was the Bible verse that we clung onto when we did our huge move to Australia.
Wow, I love that. I love that. That's such a powerful testament of again, it's a living word, right? It was written thousands of years ago, but it is a living word. When we dig into that, he wants to speak to us through that and encourage us right now in our circumstances, what he wants us to go forward and trusting him in. So how would you say, just to kind of wrap up today, that, looking back, how your walk is kind of, really impacted what you see going forward from this point on, right? Like you're, I don't want to tell everyone how old you are necessarily. That's a lady's secret, but as you're in this next season of life, right? What do you see God using all of that to propel you into? Does that make sense?
To be bold in my walk with God.
Love it.
As I've mentioned, it's been a gradual walk. There's been ups and downs, highs and lows. But especially in this current season that I am in, I have learned so much from my children. And the way that they do their God life. And I think there's a lot of liberation in that, Candace, that as an older person, and not just as their mother, but I can actually learn from my children. Even my sons-in-law, they all follow God. And they come and they share stuff that is very unknown to us. As I mentioned, how my church going was back in the day compared to what it is now. The chains, the handcuffs, that legalism has totally been broken away. Yeah. That we can actually enjoy God in various ways, but especially walk out in boldness. Yeah. And to share my God walk and even my doubts, not necessarily with people of my age, but with my children. And to me, that is a huge thing, to be able to not to think I'm an older person, I know everything. That's not true. That definitely is not true. My life has been so, one day I was sharing with somebody, I said, my life has actually been very rich. I have a very rich power because I've got so much has happened in my life. But where I am at now, and to see my grandchildren serve the Lord, and their boldness in serving the Lord. You know that Bible verse that those that serve the Lord, the generational thing, that thing. And as youngsters, they go to the pastors and say, look, can I do this in church? And I'm looking at these 12, 11 years old, and I'm thinking, I have never, ever thought of doing that in my life when I grew up. But yet, yeah, they are. And to bear witness to this and to be part of that and to see how that faith journey has carried on into the next generation, I think that, to me, there's nothing that you can compare it with on earth. It to me, that's paramount. And to know that one day, if Jesus hasn't come before that time, that their children will walk that same walk. And it will be very different from the ways I've walked.
Yeah.
But to be able to be free, Candace, to change in your belief system, to find Jesus in a different way. Not in the saying the Our Father, that was your prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, that was the prayer. Now to really sit down and talk to Jesus and really have great conversations to him and find that music speaks throughout to us, of him, stuff like that. Jesus has literally morphed from the pages of the Bible into a reality into my life. I think that is, but it was a whole process. It wasn't just,
Yeah.
It was chapters of my life.
Yeah.
So,
I love that. I love that. And, for those of you guys who are watching this, be encouraged, right? Yesterday was yesterday. Today is today. And tomorrow is yet to be written, right? And so
absolutely.
as we turn to Jesus, as we open his word, as we seek the Holy Spirit to actually breathe life back into us, I love that your boldness can change, your boldness for Jesus, and knowing that, having a relationship with him. It's not about, there's no legalism, where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. And so I am so honored to have shared this time with you. Corrie, to be able to just have, everyone be able to understand the journey of sanctification, the process of, knowing Jesus and becoming more like him throughout our life, and the impact that has on the next generation and the generation after that. I think that's such a beautiful bow kind of thing that we can wrap this up with, and just saying that, it's not just about us, it's about who, we are also impacting. God's fingerprints are all around us. And what are we actually doing in playing a part that God has called us to, in order to see, his kingdom come, right, to earth as it is in heaven, literally. That's our heart. So is there anything final thing that you want to be able to share before we wrap it up today?
There was something you put on the Eagle Up today about the best thing you can do is not your ability, but your availability. And if I can amplify something, that is it. That what you have, give it to God. Because I've learned in life, if you give God a handful of dirt, he creates a person. Give him a can of water, he makes wine out of it. Give him a sick person, he heals them. So give him 5 loaves of bread and 2 fishes, he feeds thousands. What you have, don't go and do the maths. Because if you're going to start doing the maths, you won't be able to do it. But what you have, even if you just knit, give it to God, put it in his hands. You will be surprised what God can do with what you put into his hands. And even the people that you pray for, put it into his hands. So that is my philosophy. What you have, that not your abilities, but your availability. What you have available.
I love that. I love that. Yes, thank you. Being interruptible by God to do what he's asking us to do with what we've been given. Love that.
Yes.
That's amazing. Oh, well, thank you so much. I really pray you guys have been blessed by hearing this incredible testimony, and that you too can leave this, this time feeling encouraged, feeling filled with hope and filled with faith to actually, go forward, be bold in following God, and asking Jesus and the Holy Spirit to use you in powerful ways, to mold you, and to just to make it a lasting legacy here with Jesus for all of eternity, right? So, yeah. So bless you guys until we see you again. Bless you guys. Bye.
Bye, Candace. Bye.